Manchester United are optimistic that an Ugarte deal will be done before the deadline. Rashford to Barcelona, total nonsense that I'm going to debunk. United are laying the foundations for a transfer for Ederson. This plus all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that's going to keep you up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video and let's jump straight into it. So I'm going to kick off with Ugarte, like we seem to be doing every video at the moment. So Chris Wheeler, who's been really credible this summer, has said that Manuel Ugarte would be a direct signing if Scott McTominay leaves this summer. United offered the chance to sign Ugarte on loan with obligation to buy, but PSG price is too high. United value him around £42 million. So Chris Wheeler getting in on the act for the Ugarte, which I think kind of summarized it quite well, actually. So the latest on Ugarte is obviously they're now discussing a loan with an obligation to buy, and the general kind of feeling is that if we sell Scott McTominay or maybe some other fringe players, because there's been a lot of movement around like Palestri and Hannibal that I brought to you yesterday. If United can generate the funds, they're going to look to buy him permanently. But if not, then that's where the loan with the obligation to buy for next summer might come in. And again, United are not budging on their £42 million valuation. So €50 million has been the golden kind of number for United. And then we've also had Sky Sports coming out saying that talks advancing between United and PSG over Manuel Ugarte. Cautious optimism that move can happen before deadline. Permanent deal is preference for both clubs, but loan with obligation also mooted. What a word that is. So Sky effectively saying the same as what Chris Wheeler was saying. And then Dean Jones has come out saying that Manchester United are increasingly adamant that they will seal a late deal for Ugarte. So, you know, the updates that aren't really updates. We know where we're at with Ugarte. Still in negotiations. I think it's either PSG are waiting to see if United blink first, or United are waiting to see if PSG blink first. We're still in that kind of standoff situation, really, with Ugarte. I think we've put so much effort in. Something's going to happen, whether it'll be PSG drop their asking price, and then if not, I think United or maybe look at the loan with an obligation to buy, and then it's just about ironing out the details with that. So it does seem like United have put all their eggs in the Ugarte basket, and I think we've been working on that deal for far too long for it to not go through. It's just ironing out all the little bits in between, because there's talk that PSG might be going in late for Osimhen, which will be interesting to keep an eye on, because the reports are that if Osimhen leaves Napoli are then going to have the funds to go for McTominay. So then if we get the funds for McTominay, we might then want to buy Ugarte. So there's this whole kind of situation where United are effectively waiting to see if we can generate the funds to buy him this summer. If not, we might be looking at a loan, but then PSG might be looking to buy other players. So it's just the game. It's a transfer game. We just need to kind of be a bit patient, because I think ownerships of the past would have caved in by now and overpaid for Ugarte and overspent, and that risks massive implications with PSR rules. So I do think Ineos are being clever with just holding out, because that's when you're going to get obviously a better deal. But let me know what you think about that situation in the comments. Now, this was an interesting update coming from Alfredo Padula via Get Italian Football News. Now, Alfredo Padula is really credible in the past, and actually he's been pretty decent recently regarding United news. Was red hot when it came to Højlund and Amrabat last summer, saying that Manchester United are laying down the foundation for a future move for Ederson. United recently made contact with Atalanta. So remember, there was some noise, wasn't there, a few days ago, regarding Ederson as a potential alternative to Ugarte. So maybe if Alfredo Padula is to be believed, maybe we were in contact, but maybe we're looking at maybe a move for next summer. Because if you think about it, Casemiro's likely to stay, but unless we get like a late offer or anything. But again, McTominay might stay, but then he's going to be out of contract next summer. Ederson, if he doesn't leave, he's going to be out of contract next summer. So maybe United are actually lining up some potential transfers for next summer as well, which can only be a positive. So Ederson's one to potentially keep an eye out for future transfers. So I thought that was an interesting update. Now, the next story I've got for you is regarding Amrabat. So Fabrizio Romano has said that Napoli have asked for conditions of Sofian Amrabat deal, where there's several options for the midfield. Scott McTominay deal remains also a possibility for Napoli. United asking for €30 million package. So that would be interesting to keep an eye on as well, because if Napoli don't raise the funds, they could potentially go for Amrabat instead of Scott McTominay. Antonio Conte is apparently pushing to try to get McTominay. We know McTominay, from the recent reports, would maybe be more open to a move to Napoli, but the kind of feeling on McTominay is that if he doesn't want to move, they're not going to sell him. We're not going to force McTominay out of the club. Or if we don't get value for money, we're not going to accept that bid as well, which is fair enough. Which leads me nicely into the McTominay news. Again, Alfredo Badula has said that Napoli are working to complete the signing of Scott McTominay regardless of the attacker issue. McTominay would like to work together with Antonio Conte. So a bit of conflicting stories regarding Napoli and their funds and their budget. That could be a game by Napoli, though. They could be putting it out there that we're skint and we don't have the money. We need to sell first as a way to force United to drop the price tags. You've got to remember there's all these kind of negotiation games that happen in the transfer market. And that's where you do get the kind of conflicting stories. So you've got to be careful of where it comes from. But we're keeping an eye on it for you. I'll obviously bring you any updates when they come out, but it's looking like a lot of the news there is news that isn't really news. They're just kind of regurgitation of what we've already heard over the last few weeks anyway. But just coming from like different sources, really. That's my kind of summary of the news so far. But you can let me know what you think in the comments. Now let's move on to the left back situation. Obviously, there was some news yesterday from Laurie Whitwell, who's a really credible source for United in the Athletic, saying that United are not going for a left back this summer, which I think is a massive concern. I know some of you in the comments have kind of mentioned that as well, that it is quite worrying that we're not going to go look for a left back. But the Muppeteers have also said as well, for the left back position, United wanted to see how this year goes and make a permanent purchase next year, with admiration for Milos Kerkez, among others. And we did mention that before, where, you know, there was a report, I can't remember who it came from, but was effectively saying that United were hoping or prepared to give Luke Shaw the benefit of the doubt to see if he could turn his injuries around. And that's maybe why we weren't looking at a left back this summer. But obviously he's injured straight away, not without even kicking a ball. And that's why it's a worry for me. So, but left back looks like it might be pushed further down the line. But then, you know, I think it is a concern, especially with the injury records to Malacia and Luke Shaw. That's the only reason I'm concerned, because Mazraoui's got injury question marks as well. And it's only then Diego Dallo. He can't play in two positions at once. He can't play right back and left back. Do you know what I mean? So I just hope it doesn't come back to bite us in the left back position. But let me know what you think in the comments. Another story coming from Graham Bailey said that Ben Chilwell has been offered to Manchester United. Graham Bailey also said that United were looking to sell Mason Mount this summer. So I don't think he's the most credible source. But you know, up to you. That's why I put them on the screens for you to go away and do your research and kind of see it. I think the Ben Chilwell story was kind of put to bed like a couple of days ago, but it's come out saying that United have been offered Ben Chilwell, but I can't see that happening. And personally, I wouldn't take it. He's got a worse injury record than Shaw, personally. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then Samuel Luckhurst said that Manchester United are prepared to sell 5 more players before the transfer window closes next Friday. But he didn't mention any names. So obviously, so we don't know if that's going to be, because over the last couple of days we've had news of Hannibal. I've got an update on that in a second. Ederson has been linked to be moved. There's been some updates on him. Jadon Sancho's a possible one. Obviously McTominay, you know, Lindelof maybe, although it looks like Lindelof's going to stay because he's injured. Or is it a different 5? Casemiro, Anthony? I don't think it's going to be those sort of players. I think he's maybe on about more of the kind of fringe of players that we've mentioned to you, but potentially 5 more. I don't think that's unrealistic if you're talking about, you know, Hannibal, Mabry, Palestri, do you know what I mean? Like those sort of players. I don't think it's going to be 5 first teamers this late in the window, because that would just be impossible for us to go and replace 5 first team players, or like Maguire, you know, Casemiro, Rashford. I'm going to debunk all the Rashford nonsense in a second. I don't think it's those sort of players, but let me know what you think in the comments. And just on some of those players, there's been a few more updates. So Hannibal, obviously the news has broken that Burnley might be interested in him, but according to the Mirror, Leeds United and Burnley are battling it out for Hannibal. Maybe Burnley wants him to replace Sander Berg, so that'll be interesting if we could get a bit of a bidding war for our players. That's only going to increase the value and the price that we can get. So that's definitely one to kind of that I'll monitor for you. And then there was reports with Maxi Oyedele, and that's saying that his transfer to Liga Warsaw will be finalised this week and possibly even today. A deal has been struck for a small fee with a large percentage of resale. And I like the idea. I think it was Richie when you mentioned in the comments the other day saying that it's good that United are getting rid of some of these players, but with huge sell-ons. Pellistri apparently is going to have like a 45% sell-on value, and we can't hold all of our young players, and some of them unfortunately are not going to make it. Look at was it Zidane Iqbal, who was meant to be the next big thing coming through? He's gone away, and you've not really heard of him since he's gone away. So sometimes the youngsters, I do think we over-egg the youngsters because we've got a very good youth team that's been doing really well over the recent years, but sometimes they just might not be ready for first team football. So I trust the kind of, especially when it comes to the youth team, I do trust United behind the scenes because they've got a good record recently of bringing through obviously Pellistri, Mainu, but also winning trophies at youth level as well. So they've got a good setup. That's the one thing I think the Glazers, as the previous regimes, have actually got right at United, is the kind of setup behind. We can't hoard them all, but as long as we're protecting ourselves by putting these very large sell-on clauses, like Greenwood's got one, Willy Campbell's got one as well, Alvaro Fernandez, do you know what I mean? These players, they go in to, but if they get sold on for massive fees, then United are just going to profit from that as well. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. I brought you news yesterday regarding Ederson. Now, apparently, Anderlecht are being linked with Christian Eriksen. However, United have not confirmed the interest, and Ederson looks set to be a bit part role at best at Old Trafford. So there could again be a bit of a bidding war going on for Ederson, which is only positive in my opinion. Jadon Sancho, Samuel Lucas has said Manchester United would let Jadon Sancho leave on loan or permanently, which is an update that isn't really an update. The reports of Sancho is United don't want to send him on loan and pay his wages. So if a team wants him on loan, they're going to have to pay his full wages, and with some kind of obligation to buy as well. And then finally, let's go through the Rashford nonsense, right? So this story came out. It was in Sky Sports News in the gossip column. It was on I think it was the Daily Express as well, and a few other sites, okay, suggesting that Marcus Rashford was of interest to Barcelona. Now, I traced the source back to is a journalist that works for Goal, who just posted this out, saying, according to Barcelona sources, one of the names that Hansi Flick suggested for his only request, a left winger with goals and dribbling ability, was Marcus Rashford. I don't know if there has been any movement, and that's what kind of generated all of the noise regarding the Marcus Rashford story. So in my opinion, that has absolutely zero credibility. It's Albert Fernandez, who has 10,000 followers on X, so not the most credible source. And it's just absolute waffle, in my opinion. There's no way, Barcelona can't even register Dani Olmo because they've got financial issues. So you're telling me that a team that can't register one of their big signings is then going to go out and buy Marcus Rashford? Yeah, absolute total nonsense, in my opinion. I will, as ever, keep an eye on it, though, for you to see if there is any more credible sources that come out with that story. But at the moment, it was all sourced from that one Spanish journalist, basically saying that sources have told him that Flick wants Rashford, and it's just been regurgitated everywhere. And in my opinion, a bit of Chinese whispers where the story's just kind of grown and grown and grown, and it's just total nonsense, in my opinion. You can obviously believe what you want. That's why I put the information on the screen so you can go away and do your own research. But that one for me is getting filed straight in my BS bin. So that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I do enjoy reading them. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Like the video on your way out, and I will see you in the next one.